And happy Friday evening, everyone. Hope you are doing well. Welcome to Working Dragon Mystic. I am Drake. And if this is your first time, we usually have a topic or we just talk about some random occult stuff and take some questions from the community in the live chat. Today's topic, of course, you saw in the thumbnail. We're going to be talking a little bit about shadow people, which is a topic I don't think we've covered before. We have covered some different paranormal topics, but I think this one will be fun. We will also answer some off-topic questions toward the end if that's needed. So, yay there. Um, just a few announcements real fast. We do have a locals community. There should be links below this video and every video that's released recently. Join us over there. That's one of the places where if anything was ever happened to this channel or that would be the easiest way to recover and find out where we're still working. Also, since it is where we're building the official Working Dragon Mystic community, it's where we put announcements and contests. If you wish to support us, you can become a supporter over there. And then there's a lot of supporter-only perks. There's workshops and stuff that supporters only get into. And then there's monthly duck races for giveaways, stuff like that, as well as monthly spell working that I do. The November spell working was just done for our supporters. And there's also a Discord community that is attached and only available to locals members. That's free members as well as the paid supporters, so you don't have to pay for that. And that's a lot of fun too. In fact, just yesterday, I dropped in for a coffee break in the VC over there and ended up getting an opportunity to live chat, video chat actually, with a lot of the Working Dragon Mystic community. It was a whole lot of fun. Got to meet a bunch of people, have some conversations. They got to see a less edited version of me. That's not necessarily a working version, just me having a conversation and cutting up. So that was fun. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. All right. Good evening, everyone. Eden Bull, good to see you. Birdie, welcome. Rainbow, nice to see you. Glad you can make it. Scrimps, good to see you. That was a lot of fun. Oh, okay. See a few people here. We're in there. Yep. Mathis, good to see you, man. Mugs up to you. Leo, welcome. All right. So, shadow people. This is possibly one of the most common terms you hear if you're watching a ghost hunter show, spiritual shows, or something like that. And I get a lot of emails asking exactly what are shadow people. And truth be told, no one actually knows the answer to that question. That's the honest truth. The problem we run into is this is a term that is being flung around at random, at will, just blah, 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 blah. So the true matter of it, any relatively shadowy black mass in a location that don't even have to be a haunted location often gets labeled as a shadow person. And depending on who you talk to, you're going to get definitions, different behaviors. And unfortunately, most people love to focus on the negative. They really do. Like, it's a shadow person, it's a demon. And I would say when you watch these paranormal shows, don't believe the hype, because I'll be honest, of all the hauntings I've been to, whether it be, a household or someplace like Waverly Hills, sanitarium, or prisons, and I've been to places that are labeled demonic haunting. Now, the term demonic haunting is supposed to mean whatever haunting it is a true actual demon. That's supposed to be how it's used. And to be honest, none of them have an actual true demon. That's not to say it's a safe haunting, because honestly, every foul, malevolent entity style I've encountered has been a human spirit or a thought form that had been given enough energy to start triggering poltergeist phenomenon, and the energies that created it were negative energies and emotions, anger, rage, stuff like that. Thus, it becomes a malevolent haunting. And even places that aren't haunted, that may have myths and legends around them, when you got ghost hunting crews going in there looking for things, the tension that they have looking for these things can actually create a thought form that's going to create a haunting. Now, the sad thing is, in my experience, a lot of these shadow figures, like I've been to a lot of locations where some amazing shadow figures have been caught on camera or film, and I've been lucky at a few of them. My team catches the same thing. And though I go in, when I do a paranormal investigation, let me make this clear. I want this to be clear before we go further. I go in, I'm looking for Class A data. If I record audio for an EVP, I don't want to have to put it through a computer. I don't want to have to filter it. If I can't hear it clearly on playback, honestly, it's no good to me. I really don't view that as any kind of evidence. There's plenty of people who do. I don't. I'm wanting something that can really hold up to scientific scrutiny. That's what I want. That's my interest in the paranormal investigations. That's why I go. So naturally, a lot expect me, being what I do here on YouTube and in my interest in the cult, I'm going to go in and do all this occult. I don't, because that's contaminating any data I get, because that's not provable, right? Okay, that being said, however, I will take an opportunity and look at our evidence and get a feel of the building and what is causing disturbances, if there's a disturbance. And this has been handy to me in a few cases, because if doors are swinging or whatnot, and there's no energy interference that I can pick up from the arcane senses, one of the first things I will do is bust out a level, which honestly, any good paranormal investigator should have a level in their pocket. I'll be honest with you. And you never see them on TV, do you? But you should, because you can check the floor and you can check the door. You can put it right on the door and see if that door is level. And 9 times out of 10, that door ain't level. And I can easily now guess why that door moved. Handy little thing from the fact that most of my family were involved in construction in one way or another. But you don't have to have a construction background to use a level. If you don't know how, just go to Home Depot, get you one about this big. It's got a little bubble in it, just a little bubble. Don't get the digital ones, just get the one with the bubble, set that on there. And there's 2 little lines on either side of the bubble. You're trying to land the bubble between the 2 lines. If that bubble's between the 2 lines, you're level. That's all you need. Levels are easy to use. So yeah, a lot of times I am finding that these things are shadow figures or human spirits that are actually still lingering and hanging around. And unfortunately, you also got this concept where, well, it's a trapped person. They're stuck here. I'm not going to say never, but I rarely run into one stuck, because you do have free will in death and you can wander. And a lot of people, I've met plenty of spirits that actually want to visit places they've never visited. And then I've met spirits that they don't want to change their routine in death, just like they didn't want to change it in life. And they like where they're at. Now, then, of course, you also have the ones that, I've said this on this channel before, a dick in life is a dick in death. A bad person in life is a bad person in death. It doesn't miraculously make them a better person, unfortunately. And those are usually where most of your problem hauntings actually do come in, is because it's a human spirit that, well, they were assholes in life and they're going to continue to do so in death, unfortunately speaking. Then you've got we do have shadow people that, they're definitely not human spirits. They're not a demon, though these are the ones that most people immediately throw into the demon bucket, because if it's not a human, it's a demon. Okay, so they're throwing thought forms into the demon bucket too, which really annoys me, I'll be honest with you. But we also know it's not a thought form. And then we come down to, what is it? Well, the 3 major occult things to blame: human spirits, thought forms, demons. Ain't that? I have seen instances where I would actually say they're celestial or angelic. And people find that hard to believe, that, oh my God, angels haunt places. Yeah. Angels and demons, if you actually look at their historical lore, they're the same entities. They really are. So they will have very similar habits. There's nothing to stop an angel from hanging around. And they have sense of humor. They can play pranks on people. There's no law against playing a prank on a person. So, yes, there can be angelic hauntings. And interestingly enough, a lot of these angels do have a tendency to show up as a dark mass in those cases. Not all angels show up as a big, bright, shiny light. That's a more, that's kind of a modern take. So when we are talking about shadow people, we have to understand that this is a broad term because it is literally anything that shows up as a black mass or shadow. Let's see, we got some comments coming in here. Some of this is just y'all saying hello to each other, which is awesome. It's always good to support one another. Good info we're all to have that improve things. See, Rainbow, I feel like shadow people like construction sites and abandoned spots. You do find a lot of shadow people, whether they be thought forms or not, around those areas. And that's because there's a lot of energy that goes into those areas. There is. And for many, many different reasons. So at a construction site, the entire area is being redone. You're breaking ground, you're building, the amount of people coming in and out of there. Not only doing the literal work of building this, which is a lot of hard work and a lot of energy going into just the work, but especially in modern days, now you have the modern equipment, the batteries, the electricity, all that stuff is going into that site as well. And then the sheer concept that everyone going into this site is trying to create something. They got a goal to build something and create something. And that can quickly and easily create thought forms that can free roam on the site. It really can. And if there's superstitions or fears that go around these construction sites, those can take hold too. Like I know a guy that every construction site I've been to that he used to work at had a thought form that was fear based because he had a job. He needed the job. He liked his job, but he was afraid of heights. And he was a construction worker that every day of his job, he was up high. So he's constantly generating that fear energy, but he's still doing the job. And they would essentially leave those thought forms behind. Now, the good news is thought forms aren't hard to get rid of. They're some of the easier ones to get rid of. The problem comes if we don't recognize a thought form as a thought form and understand how easy they are to get rid of, then our paranoia and worry of will it come back can literally regenerate it. And this is when you kind of have that repeater. You do the cleansing, it's fine for a month, a week, or whatever. And the time period's strictly based on how much energy output the person or people in the house are worried about it. And you just have to keep cleansing because it keeps coming back, keeps coming back. Well, it's not that it's leaving and coming back. You're destroying the thought form, and then you're recreating it because of those emotions. But yeah, those, I will say construction sites and abandoned sites are good places. And of course, the abandoned site, like the construction site, it's a place that has been there. It has gone through entire life cycles, families, people who owned it, businesses, whatever it may be, just all those emotions and everything's in it. And then it gets lost, falls into decay. And then you usually also have the fact that you got a lot of transients or urban explorers and now paranormal investigators going in and out of there. And whatever emotions they're bringing in and out into the now abandoned site, they're just going to sit there and linger and feed into that as well. So there are prime spots for those energies to just linger around and take hold. Seemed to be the case. One I've mentioned to you in email, very active haunting I had to deal with. Yep, thought forms are honestly, most of the hauntings I've been to are thought forms. I'll be honest. It's I won't say I find it disappointing. I find it pretty cool because my hope is to understand paranormal activity and like hauntings and ghosts, not to just prove one thing. At the same time, there have been plenty of times where human spirits were directly involved. Um, and, human spirits are definitely the bigger problem. Like the only spirit I would actually say I'm worried about would be a human spirit. I've never met a demon that worried me. I'll be honest, straight up. Um, Humans are the ones you got to worry about. And there's plenty of ghost hunters and those out there who's going to disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. We're going to have our philosophical differences and opinions on here because, yeah, the word demon unfortunately has become more watered down than the term shadow person, and you can't prove demons exist just like you can't prove ghosts exist. And until we break that code and until we start getting functional data other than spiritual belief or thoughts, then we just have to follow the data and our experience and what we think this thing may be, right? Um, so that's one of my main reasons for being so stingy and so strict on how I collect data. I get asked all the time, what do I run my audio through to clean it up? Nothing. That's the answer. Nothing. I don't even try to remove the background. I have had a few people who remove the background. One of them I trust. They've always they showed me how they remove the background noise from it. Fine. But the other 4 people who's done it for me, they removed the background and then altered the actual track. And that's a no-go. That's a no-go. I ain't down with that. It's got to be class A or nothing for me because I need this to hold up to the most strict scrutiny, right? And if you don't use that formula, that's you. You do your investigations. I also think paranormal investigating should be fun. I think people should get out there and have fun with it. Like I have goals and reasons for what I do, and it's what makes it fun for me. Okay, so understand that's what makes it fun for me. Let's see, Mathis, they called it demonic, but I think it was more of a thought form. Yeah, anytime something spooks somebody, they call it a demon. And honestly, you got a lot of psychics, a lot of mediums, and a lot of paranormal investigators that are feeding into the problem because it gets them attention. I actually know a crew, like I disassociated with them because every time they walked in a building, like the crew leader would start walking around like this, doing this, like she's filling the room and everything. She's giving these, oh, this happened here. It's like this. I'm feeling this. And inevitably, there's always a demon. She ain't happy without a good demon. And then it always irked me because so many people just bought into it. But then, like, I remember at least 8 different places where they had pulled the history of the building. And, like, this lady, she's swearing up and down what she's getting. It's the truth. It's the fact. It's like you can trust her. And then they lay the history on the table and you find out she's full of shit. And it's just like, what are you going to do? They called your bluff. And in all those locations, the activity was never negative activity, but she's just throwing that word demon and malevolent haunting around just to get, the juice in the advertising, if you will. And oftentimes what's worse, like I've seen her clients report that the activity got worse after she was there. And that's generally because, she starts pouring fear into the location, and that unfortunately can change a perfectly normal thing that's, oh, look, the house is haunted, it's fun, it's dandy, to more negative, unfortunately. And I'll be honest, those types of crews I disassociate with. I don't like them. Let's see what we got in here. Let's see, Rainbow, in your experience, do these shadow figures have form, or is it more common the black mass? It's actually both. Like, that's actually a great question, Rainbow. And in all truth, it's both. Like, I tried to I pulled together all of my personal evidence and, broke it down. And then I was contacting, I want to say, somewhere between 15 and 20 different crews that I know and that have a great deal of data. And I asked them for any video or any photo that they had of anything they viewed as a shadow person, a shadow, a black mass, didn't matter. If they can get that to me in some way, I would love to see it. Doesn't even have to be the originals. I just get me a copy. And I started categorizing them into black mass and human form. So if it needed distinctive human form before I give it. If it just looked like a mass with shoulders and a head, that didn't count as a human form to me. I put that over in the black mass. If it was just a blob of black mass, obviously. I needed a distinct humanoid form. I needed to be able to see some arms at the very least on it, and a torso and a head, right? I needed distinct human form. And once we got it all set down and laid out, then we had to start counting and recounting and counting again because I'm dyslexic as shit and I needed to make sure I got my counting. Luckily, I got friends who are willing to suffer through the counting with me. And well, maybe they made it worse because, we're telling jokes during it. So we have to, of course, we start laughing, we lose count again. But we got through it. And on all honesty, we came up with a nearly perfect 50-50. Nearly perfect. With the black masses getting like a 1 to 2% better, which I thought was crazy. Like we actually went back and counted a time or two after that and had another group of friends count it because that was so close. It's like, I don't trust my own numbers. And they came back with the same count. So it was really kind of cool on that one. That's a good question, though. That is a good question. So that's what the data I was able to pull. Now, I'd have to get more data. I've not contacted those crews in a few years. So if I contacted them again, I don't know what evidence they found since then. That would be an interesting one to see if we increase the data points. If we could increase the results on that. That would be something interesting to find out. But at this time, the data as I have it stands at nearly 50%. And actually, I'm looking at getting the admin team to help me get back into investigation and start doing some of my own stuff, which I will be sharing with the community here. Anything that I can, I'm going to put on YouTube. If it's too weird for YouTube or too spicy for YouTube, we may have to put that, either edit it and put it on YouTube and put the unedited over on Locals. But we're going to try and share it as much as possible. Let's see. Okay, we jumped. Human spirits have a power to them and a stubbornness that can make them hard to convince in my experience. Yeah, they can. But then again, it depends on what you're trying to convince. Because you're telling, I've noticed so many people, it's like, you should move on. You got to go on. You're passed away. Why do they have to go on? Where is that in the actual rule book that they have to move on? Where is it? Show me. It isn't there. It's not. It's just not. We've got this weird concept that if they're here, they're suffering. And in all truth, most of them, they just like it here. It's like, there's plenty of places where I go. Is it the best bar? Is it the best restaurant? No. There's probably a better bar or restaurant just a block down the street. Why do I go there? I like it. It's not the best, but I like it. And we all have those things in our lives that we like, right? Call it a guilty pleasure, call it what you like. I don't care. We like it. And there's no need for a human spirit to be like, oh, I'm dead now. I'm just going to abandon everything I like and move on. Now, there are instances where a spirit or something may not know it's dead. That is true. And then there is a bit of, you're going to have to show them some evidence and whatnot and work with them. And even once they know they're dead, they're like, shit, okay, yeah, I'm dead. Are they going to be stubborn about leaving? Yeah, because, okay, originally they stuck around because they didn't know they were dead, right? Now they know they're dead, but again, you run into the problem. They just may not want to go. They may not. Now, I know a lot of people can't wait to get down to here, and they're looking forward to Helheim. They're looking for the Elysian Fields, whatever their particular afterlife may be. they're looking forward to it. But that's not everybody. So if they're being stubborn, we also have to step back and think, why? Because just because we believe or think one spiritual thing doesn't mean they agree with us nor give a damn about our spiritual beliefs. Because I'll be honest, and this is something I was talking to my wife about. Like, if I was hanging around a place and I was a ghost, most of the time I would just stand in the corner, point, and laugh at most of these crews I see. I really would. I really would. However, if a crew come in and they're jumping at every little sound and they're trying to find out if the ghost in here is a demon, I'm not going to lie about it one bit. I would do everything I could to scare them and convince them I'm a demon because it would be fun. Point blank. Not going to lie. I would do everything I could. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I was pissed. I was pissed when they screwed with my audio. Luckily, I only gave them a copy, not the original, so I still had the original. I know a very the Hat Man, and honestly, you will see a lot of shadow figures with hats, and that is oddly to be expected if you think about it, right? I mean, seriously, stop and think about it. First off, energy will take the shape of what it's mimicking. And so, whether it's a thought form or a human spirit, they're going to mimic appearances. And honestly, hats have always been very, very common wear for both men and women. Um, and though we don't think of hats as much in the modern day, especially because stylizations have changed, and the ball caps become the most popular hat, when you really stop and think about it, we still wear hats all the time. So if I was to die, if I was to leave a thought form or an energy signature behind me, even if I go on to wherever I go, there's a fair chance that energy that mimics me would have a hat. So honestly, I have encountered plenty of these hat men, and again, they were just thought forms or energy masses that were mimicking the shape of the individual who created them. And again, you see a lot of these around construction sites because of the hard hats. You actually do see a lot of these around construction sites, which I think it was Rainbow mentioned construction sites earlier because of the hard hats. And a lot of human spirits, if they wore a hat when they were alive, if it was a staple to their wardrobe, you'll still see it on them when they pass. So yeah, hat. Like I don't separate the hat man from other like shadow figures and stuff because of that. And I've not seen any specific one that actually gives it enough reference to pull it to the top and say this is a specific hat man. Now that's not to say that if like there's a haunted hospital or someplace and they got one ghost in there that wears a hat and they call him the Hat Man, that's a different story because that's more of a descriptive term as to that particular thing in the area. And that's different. That's different than what I'm saying here. I want to make as well. Because yeah, some of them do use Hat Man as more of a descriptor. Does Hat Man? I've seen a few of them show up with red eyes. And honestly, the red eyes, whether it's on a human spirit or a thought form, it's usually the energy pattern itself is trying to manifest some kind of look at you, look at me, like that. It's trying to make that visual because I mean we're trained, like if we're trying to communicate, if we're trying to contact, you talk to a person by looking them in the eyes, right? And usually when that happens, there's a variant in color in the mask that creates the eyes. and it's going to choose one of those massive contrasting colors. Red is usually a good one. Red is usually a good one, but I've also seen yellow, green. I've seen purple once, which I'll be honest, the purple eyes rock the purple eyes. Um, I want some purple eyes when I'm a ghost. But yeah, there are a few of them that shun, but I've also seen the red eyes in the ones without the hat. So it's not specifically limited to the hats, and the hat man doesn't always have the red ones. Um, Having fun with investigations also doesn't give thought forms power. Well, it can. Energy is energy, right? Or ether is ether. Just like in science, when we use the scientific term of energy, and energy is energy, in magic, if we're not using the word energy and we use the word ether, all ether is still ether. Whether it's generated with a positive emotion or a negative emotion, it's still the same thing. So it just doesn't tend to create the ones that get the attention, because a thought form that's created out of having fun or something is usually going to linger around the house, and you just have a good time in the house. You're just happy, almost like a cleansing. Like if you do a house cleansing and you charge it with positive, happy energy, you can walk into that house having a bad day and suddenly you're in a good mood. It's the complete opposite of, like, when you walk in that room and somebody had an argument and you're just like, ugh, what's wrong in this room? It's the opposite effect, but it still works. Now, the reason a lot of people think negative emotions have a stronger impact is because it is easier for humans to fall into a loop on negative emotions. It's not that they're stronger, it's just easier to fall into a loop. Like once you get mad, it's easy to be mad. Once you're scared, it's easy to be scared. It's harder to pull out of that than it is to just continue having a good time. Um, but they can still utilize that. It's just less noticed because the effect it has, weirdly, we humans, we tend not to focus on the positive. We don't focus on the good, which personally is a bit effed up. I think that's a good chunk of what's wrong with all of us. We need to put more into actually looking at those good things. Um, but it does, and it can. So I don't want to say just because just because we're having a good time means it don't do anything. I want to be honest about that. But there's definitely an effect on that. Um, do, 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 do. Oh yeah, that's why I'm always trying to grab more and more samples. I always want more and more data, more and more. Got to have the data. Love me some data. Um, but you got to understand, most of the friends I grew up with, my circle of friends, that used to just like, I have a great idea and they're on board, right? And any guy out there, that phrase, I got a great idea. It's pretty much like, here, hold my beer. Um, all my friends have passed away in one way or another. Not because of my ideals. I'm gonna make that clear. Um, I'm kind of the last one of that group of idiots standing, for better or worse. So I'm trying, I'm making new friends. But also at the same time, with the digital age, a lot of my friends are states away from me now, especially being military. I'm moving all the time. So, you got to work within the parameters that you got now. Um, Luckily, my wife agreed to help with the paranormal investigations this time around. So at least there's one person willing to go in a dark alley or woods with me. I know plenty of human spirits are wandering the physical. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely hear about choice. Let's see. Way you can do that. Pretend to be a demon. That sounds like something. Yeah. I mean, literally, think about it. Most people don't even know what actual demonic energy would feel like what we would actually refer to as a demon. First off, I don't even like the word demon, I'll be honest with you, because it's misused. Because people will say, like, people like Belial or Azazel are demons, and they give these very specific, like, even if you look at the fallen angel concept, um, they're not the evil, vile spirits they're painted out to be. even the edgy magicians who want to paint them as that, when you approach them with respect, you'll find out very quickly they're not. Do they have a unique energy signature? Absolutely. I can tell the difference between that energy signature and a human spirit very easily. And most of these people don't have that actual knowledge. And the ones who do, some of them, they're legit about it. Others, they scream demon to get clicks, right? We already talked about groups like that. Don't like them. Not my cup of tea. Not saying all of them do it. For the legit crews out there, don't come get screaming at me. We're legit. You blah, blah. Right. Was I in your team? Was I on your crew? Probably not. And I don't think any of the crews I was in is on the internet, to be honest with you. If you are, hey, how you doing? Sorry to piss you off, but you shouldn't have done what you done. The rest of you, doesn't mean I'm talking about you. So yes, you can. It's just because you're a spirit don't mean you can't play a prank. And if you think about it, you can still harness energy. A spirit can still, like a magician, a dead magician can still call and harness ether. So I could fill a space with any ether that I needed to call. So even if another magician's there, technically I could even mask myself under another energy signature because of that. And then let's look at stuff like glamour magics and stuff, where you can literally alter your energy signature, hide your energy signature, or fluctuate it. So you could also use that exact kind of magic as a spirit to literally change what you feel like. You can have a lot of fun. Humans are, yeah, we are. It's a survival mechanism. We take notice of negative events in hopes that we don't repeat them. However, modern humans are dumb enough to continue to repeat them. Seriously. I mean, we're literally at a point where we've got the internet, yet we try to scrub the internet of negative stuff and censor it so we can erase history and doom ourselves to repeat it again, which is kind of bullshit. But we are wired that way. You are correct. That's why we do need to make an active choice to actually focus on those good things, because focusing on the negative and remembering those, you're right, those are hardwired and practically automatic for survival reasons. So we need to use that so-called evolved brain of ours that supposedly separates us from the beasts of the wilds and actually try to put some focus on that good. Let's see. Your hands. Seeing, I quickly learned that shadow people and masses could be a variety of things and currently manifesting that way. And many weren't negative. Yeah, I'll be honest, most of them were not negative. Let's see. And if you investigate in Washington, I would love to help. Let me see what I can put together. And I got to talk to the admin, see who's going to show up, who's not going to show up. Because we do have plans to investigate in Washington State. All of us are going to fly out there. So, yeah, I'll talk to the team because I want to make sure everybody on the team is okay if I bring in someone else. Because I'm one of those people, I think the team needs to be comfortable with each other. But that is something I can look into, and I can look into it. Right now, I'm still doing the logistics of together and contacting the location, setting up the time and the place, all those good things. Rainbow, do shadow people tend to have any distinctive powers? No more than any other spirit that I've noticed. Most of them, honestly, the most common things is usually the visual. Then that's quickly followed by phantoms. I think shortly thereafter, you get the potential for phantom smells. Though I will say in my research, there's one place I slightly disagree with the common data. And this is, honestly, I'll say this is just experiential. I'm not disagreeing with the data, but I have found that a lot of, whether it be a thought form or a human spirit, they can usually create phantom sounds and smell before we see the mass. So that makes sense that shadow people would, of course, show that pattern too. And then it's usually the movement of physical objects of some kind usually comes in there. And oftentimes you will notice that usually either before or shortly after the mass is shown is when the object's manipulated. Rarely are the two things happening at the same time. And the current prevailing theory is because of the energy it takes to manifest the mass and the energy it takes to move the object is so great that most of the time they can't do both at the same time. That's the prevailing theory. But a theory is just a theory. You got to take that with what you got. And that's why we need more data, right? Hey, Immortal, good to see you. Glad you could join us, mate. Great questions, guys. Great questions. If you got more, throw them in there. I'll try to answer them. If I can. If I ain't got an answer, I'll tell you that too. Like if you ask me if I've ever seen a shadow person do the hokey pokey, I'll have to say no. I ain't never seen that. Ain't never seen none of that. Jackie enjoying Halloween. Ain't it November now? I'm tempted just to like piss my neighbors off to put up Christmas decorations. Everybody's like, it ain't Christmas yet. It's not even Thanksgiving. Ho, ho, ho. Just to piss people off. Those who chatted with me yesterday, you all know I will do things just to piss people off because it's fun, which is why I know if I ever stuck around to haunt someplace, I would have a blast because anything to give someone a hard time and piss them off. That's just my personality. Let's see. Let's understand. Do it. Blast Christmas music too. Well, see, I can do that, but I have to be clear here. Like, there's some traditional Christmas music I do like. I'll be honest. As someone who has worked retail when he was younger, there's plenty of Christmas songs that are just I don't want to hear it. And I think we all know Mariah Carey. We don't really want them to defrost her every Christmas, but they do. Fine, dandy. We know it's coming. Um, but that being said, I do have plenty of Christmas music that we do listen to. I have both of Jimmy Buffett's Christmas albums. Let's see. I know the wife has Cletus T. Judd's Cletus Navidad CD. And then we just got an assortment of weird random music that we have collected over the years that we listen to. Because we like to have fun. But yeah, I got no problem blasting Jimmy Buffett. But around here, to be honest with you, I'd probably get down and jam with it. Let's see. See, Aiden, if I ever stuck around, I'd either be helpful, I'd F with people, or both. There you go, right? Right? See, Lee, maybe an obvious question, but does perceiving shadow people get much clearer as you develop your arcane senses? That's actually a good question, actually. And this is an interesting answer for me. So the technical answer is yes, you see more with your arcane senses, right? But our arcane senses don't prove shit, unfortunately, right? Like you can't take that and analyze that under nothing. Okay. So when it comes to shadow people, I really don't take into account arcane senses because I want to know what's on the camera. What can I put on the camera? What could I take to my mom and say, what the hell's this? Now she's having nightmares. Okay. Now I take it to a scientist. What the hell's this? They're trying to examine it. I take it to a videographer who's got it's like, what is this? See if they can figure out if it's a trick of the camera or a distortion or something. That is something that can be analyzed. And so the technical answer to your question is yes, your arcane senses can help, but they don't help us prove anything either. So if you're utilizing your arcane senses in an investigation, I would recommend using it to get an idea of where to set your equipment up to gather the provable data. That's more what I would focus on than just the sheer clarity of it. Interestingly enough, though, one thing I have noticed, and I think this might be a little closer to your question, perhaps, but like there are things and entities that if you were to examine the room with a camera or with your naked eye and your senses not available, you just get that dark mass or that shadowy outline. But your arcane senses are going to see a person standing there. That's actually something that's happened to me more than a few times, actually. So that's another. I mean, it is very clear because it's no longer shadowy mass; it's a freaking person right there, right? In fact, I've actually had to ask my dragons a time or two to not enter a place when we're investigating or having cameras rolling, because there are times that my dragons have moved through an area, and even though they didn't mean to show up, they did get picked up as a distortion, kind of like think of what the like if you look across the pavement or the hood of a car in a really hot summer day, that kind of heat distortion. They kind of looked like a distortion moving through the room, or they did pick up as a minor shadow. So you do have to consider that as well. So you got to look at those kind of things. Hey, Mathis, thank you for the super chat, mate. Mugs up. So there was a road that I constantly saw lots of shadow people on, even groups of them. Oddly enough, that was the same road as the haunting. Roads are actually going to have quite a bit of hauntings. Actually, that's a good one we'll get into in a second. People, if you are here, give us a thumbs up. It does help the channel a lot. It helps with the algorithm. And right now, I'll be honest, something weird's going on with the analytics. I'm hoping it's just election season and the ad dollars are just going wherever the ad dollars are going for election season. And after election season, analytics get gut. But we need all the help we can get. Give us a thumb up if you're here, if you're enjoying the channel, if you like the content we do, because that is going to help us get better views. The algorithm will show more people the video. We get more views. It helps us make more content, find more subscribers, build the community, all those wonderful things. So thumbs up us, please. Now, like Mathis was saying, he's talking about roadways and hauntings and excessive shadow figures, or yeah, you will see this. In fact, if you think of like the white lady or the lady in white, however you want to say it, it's been said a lot of ways. There's always this like lone figure that people are pulling over. They look stranded or something. Sometimes they're nice, sometimes they're not so nice. But these legends and hauntings are all over the world. And the prevailing theory here, and I actually agree with this one, is roadways are pathways to destinations. Literally. Their entire purpose of a road is to get from point A to point B if you're traveling. So it makes sense that etherical energy will follow these roadways very much the same way that we think of ley lines working if the goal is to travel. Okay? So etheric energy would do the same thing. Well, spirits will do the same thing. They will move along natural pathways that are meant for travel. It's like an instinct. And because of this, you get a lot of places where you get that. And yeah, some of the places do tend to be the creepier roads. Why? Some people say just because it's creepier, there's more emotion there. I've also heard back roads and stuff. It's not that they're creepy, it's that more people park back there and use the seclusion for activities. Adults, you know what I'm talking about. So there's energy there, right? There's all kinds of theories bouncing around, but there are plenty of occurrences like that, Mathis. And as far as at least the roadways being linked with travel, and it would make sense that spirits travel it, I do have to agree with that as well. And that's a few things I brought up with some underworld deities and entities that work with death, and they actually seem to agree with that concept. But conversation with a deity don't prove jack shit when it comes to paranormal proof, does it? But that's the best I can give you on that. Hope that helps, mate. Love the super chat. Thank you much. Oh yeah, I've had plenty of my own. Actually, where I grew up was around the Cumberland Gap and Cumberland Falls. Lady in White's actually one of the things that happens down there around the falls. There's plenty of myths and legends around it. Me and a buddy of mine, he didn't believe in the paranormal. We are heading down to see the moonbow down there, and we saw her, and he was like, "Hey, did you see?" I was like, "No, keep driving." He's like, "What?" But I was like, "Keep driving." He's like, we should tell, like, what if she's lost? I was like, "Look in your rearview mirror," and he's like, "She's gone." I was like, "Yep, keep driving." It wasn't until we're parked down by the falls talking. He's like, "What was that? You seem to know." And I explained it to him, and like, you just watched it. I mean, it was summer. He was tan as shit. You just watch him go stark white. He's like, "It was what?" Oh, it was great. I wish I had his face on camera, but we didn't even have cell phones back then, so that ain't happening. Let's see. Well, great answer. No problem, Leo. No problem. Like, I don't really believe in stupid questions. I don't. I believe a question's a question. Now, there are people, we've seen them come in here. You all have seen them. We do have people who come in and they'll ask the same question 25 times. And I'm not talking like 25 times to try and get it answered. I mean, they will come back week after week, ask the same question. That's a stupid question. If you don't like the answer, shut up. Don't ask it. But beyond that, I don't believe in stupid questions. Don't spam my channel. I'm not saying spam the channel. When I say I'm not giving permission to spam channel, when I say it's been asked in the same stream. But I don't really think there's a general stupid question, because you don't know what you don't know if you don't ask. You really don't. And that's one of the things that I do think a lot of people in the occult community, they kind of giggle. It's like, what? Is it that obvious? No, it isn't obvious. It really isn't, jackasses. Like, I know very, very skilled magicians. Like, certain things, like, I have seen skilled magicians stumped by a problem, right? And they can't figure it out. They can't figure it out. I've seen a 4-year-old come in the room. They're playing with their little toy. What y'all doing? And they're, well, we're trying to figure out this. And they're, I mean, you can just put a pipe in their hand. And the kid's just like, well, why don't you do this? And like, what the kid said was so freaking simple. Yes, a child would know it. But it was so simple that the big brain magicians never thought about it. So ask the question. It may unlock the key to something important. Never get too big for your britches, people. Let's see. Jackie, laughing. Let's see, Mathis, it's just pretty wild going to check a house hunting, and the road had a lot of activity before ever reaching the house. Was high. It was a high energy area. Yeah, in all honesty, I would also say, like, one of the things that, like, if you ever get to where you can open your arcane sight all the way, you will never find a location on Earth, or at least I haven't found a location on Earth, where if you open your sight 100%, there's not spirits around you. Okay? Every location on Earth I've ever been, when I've opened my sight fully, it is like Times Square on New Year's Eve, packed like sardines, just spirits everywhere. So when we think of high concentrations of spirits in a specific area, it doesn't surprise me, because I've yet to find an area where there isn't, in truth. It's just, what concentration of it are we seeing, right? That's the question. So, yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. And a lot of people don't like to think about that concept, because we like to think about, I want my privacy. I want to be alone. And they don't like the concept that we're not ever alone. But it is something I try to remind my investigators of, my team too. It's like, there are spirits everywhere. There's not a question of, is there a spirit here? There's the question of, what is manifesting here in a physical reality manner. Rainbow, have you ever worked with shadow people in rituals? Again, like shadow people is such a blanket term that covers so many things. Have I worked with thought forms? Yep. Have I destroyed thought forms, cleansed thought forms? Yep. Thought forms are a very, very super accidental primitive servitor. I do servitor rituals all the time as well. We talked about servitors here. So technically, those also can manifest as shadow people. So because of this broad term, I have to say absolutely. Earlier, I mentioned that my dragons have shown up on a camera as a something that would be labeled as a shadow figure. So yes, dragons also. And of course, I do work with spirits of the dead, human spirits of the dead, whether it be for clients or just myself. So again, there we go. Um, so yeah, since it is such a broad term, yeah, I have, and I have done rituals to try and identify what particular um, shadow form or person might be in a location after um, the paranormal investigation if the client needs or wants. By and large, like I do not mess in the affairs of an entity in a house if they're not causing an issue. I really don't. I'm not this person who runs in and immediately, oh, there's something here. We got to see to it. Moving on. I'm not going to kick you out of the house if you're not doing nothing. That's just stupid. Odds are they were there first anyway. Not always, but odds are. And we all a little stupid sometimes. Oh, I'm a lot of stupid. I am a lot of stupid. You can ask my friends. I'm a lot of stupid. And a lot of times. Um, Jackie, hi Drake. My mom was wondering what a guardian dragon and co-magician are. I don't know how to describe them besides friends who watch over you and friends who mentor and push you in magic. Could you please describe a guardian dragon and co-magician are? Yeah, I'll describe that real quick for her. No problem. Hi, Jackie mom. And I would also encourage her to go check out our Guardian Dragon video. I think I did a co-magician video. If I didn't, I probably need to. But yeah, so when an individual practices dragon magic, there's a few steps that the dragons generally require. One of the first steps is to find what is referred to as your guardian dragon. A guardian dragon is a pretty young dragon. Okay, to be a guardian dragon, you have to be within a very specific age bracket. And for the dragons, that's 500 years to 1,000 years old. That sounds very old to us as humans, but to a dragon, that is very young. At 500 years, a dragon can be something like that can fit in your hand. Look at this parrot on my desk. This would be a relatively small guardian dragon size. A lot of people do get guardian dragons about this size, and they can go up to about the size of a love seat. Now, once they hit that 1,000-year age, they move outside of the guardian dragon. They can no longer perform their duties as a guardian dragon. That being said, this guardian dragon, they actually work with you and help you in your magical practice. They will put their energy into the spell workings you're doing. You two work together cooperatively. They're also semi there to teach you, to advise you, to watch over you, tell you you're being stupid at times. They can be very energetic and playful and rambunctious and sometimes annoying. But you do create a very good friendship with them because when you're working with dragons, it's about the friendship. They don't want you to worship them. They hate worship. They want you to actually get to know them as an individual, and that friendship's what they truly value. Now, that's a guardian dragon. So they're going to be helping you with your magic, and they're going to be helping you with your practice and guiding you. And they do some protection, but protection is not the main focus. Their main focus is to help you along in your magic, in your path, and in your life, and help educate you. Now, part of this exchange, though, let's understand, working with you is part of their education. It's like they're in college, and it's on-the-job training because they're trying to understand humans by working with you. Okay, you're kind of their final year's exam, so they're learning as much from you as you're learning from them. And now, with that said, A co-magician is a considerably older dragon. A considerably older. So to qualify as a co-magician, a dragon would have to work at, I want to, if I remember correctly, it's a minimum of 1,000 years in each of the 9 elements. So they would work like in the fire element as a fire dragon for 1,000 years. Then they could transfer over to, say, the earth element for 1,000 years. And they would have to work in each of the 9 elements for a minimum of 1,000 years. So that puts that dragon at a minimum. The earliest a dragon could qualify as a co-magician would be around 10,000 years old, at which point they leave the elements. They're no longer aspected with an element, okay? And they specifically choose to take on the duty where they are going to become a co-magician. And there is actually a place in the dragon realm, which is where they will await. And there's a ritual for the magician to where they will go and they will be assigned a co-magician. You don't get to pick, okay? You don't get to pick. But what it is the co-magician that will best benefit your growth and advancement is the co-magician you will get. And these are much older dragons, and their job is to teach you and guide you. These are very much the stern mentor teachers. They will also help in your rituals and in your magic, but they're definitely the one that takes on that more teacher role. Like this one's a classmate. You're both studying at the same time. You're both learning. You're both helping each other. And yeah, this is the smarter classmate, but this is the teacher, right? And I make a point that it doesn't mean it's the one you need, not the one you want, because you may not get along with your co-magician right away. I'll be honest. My co-magician and me, we butted heads for years. The irony behind that is because our personalities are so similar, and I needed that someone who would get in my face, scream and yell, and call me on my shit. I needed that. As that respect built with us, and as I learned, now him and I mean, we still like take a jab at each other and cut jokes, but we're not screaming and yelling at each other as much because he was the co-magician I needed. And honestly, I will call him probably one of the best friends I have in the world. So yeah, that's the short of it in a bottle. And you need these 2 dragons before you can actually move further into dragon magic and actually approach the rulers of the elements themselves. So there you go. Hope that helps a little bit. And respect entities if they are minding their own business. Otherwise, you're the one being the asshole, not them. Exactly. I kind of wondered about that. I think I was starting to really open up during that time, and unfortunately, I fell into doubt afterwards. Doubt is the enemy of a magician. It really is. Actually, it's the enemy of anyone. I had a friend actually, like, he saw one of my live streams, and he's like, "You get a lot of questions about doubt." I was like, "Well, it's a really hard thing to overcome." And I try to give pointers. He's like, "Why don't you ever recommend books on Stoicism?" I was like, "Huh?" And he is of the mind that picking up a book on Stoicism, reading it, studying it, meditating on it, gives a focus and a clarity to day-to-day life that actually helps overcome doubt naturally. And I never personally thought about it. And I can't say I've tested it. I mean, you all know I study it myself, and I've even shared a few Stoic principles on here before. But he might be onto something. So, if you're struggling with doubt, maybe grab a book on Stoicism, read through that, meditate on it, consider to applying some of it, see if it helps. I haven't personally tested it. I'm going to see about if I can get some talk to some people. If you get this book and you read it and it does help you, let me know. I'll add that to my data pool. But since doubt popped up, I want to just throw that in there. It's untested. I don't know, but I see where he's coming from, and I think it has validity. Let's see. She says hi back. Thank you. Kind of off topic. What magical properties does whiskey have I find Tennessee whiskey to be distinctly more powerful. Actually, I've not noticed any differences between one whiskey or the other. It almost depends. Like, if I did notice a difference, it tends to be like the whiskey style tends, like the whiskey you prefer tends to actually work better. In general, is one of the things I've noticed. Um, but yeah, I see Immortal shared. Yeah, I actually did a video on whiskey properties. It's kind of a fun video. Um, and I like Tennessee whiskey. It depends on it though. I can get picky on Tennessee whiskey. Um, yeah, Immortal's on top of the links tonight, mate. Thank you very much, Immortal. We appreciate you. Uh, Let's see, Jackie. Oh, like working on a thesis. Yeah, a thesis. That'd be like the final project of college, a thesis. Yeah, that'd be kind of it. And granted, it's a 500-year thesis, but yeah, it would be their thesis. It's really cool. That's why pathworking is handling. Oh, yeah, pathworking helps with handling doubt. I personally find. So yeah, I can. Yeah. So if you're struggling with doubt, grab a book on Stoicism. They're all over the internet, one way or the other. Some of them include meditation. Since we're testing something, I wouldn't grab an expensive one. Like, I've seen some really expensive Stoic books. I don't know why they're so expensive, but you can grab one $5-10 usually. If you have Amazon Prime, usually there's some free Kindle ones too. Usually, um, where are we? Where are we? The mortal is throwing clocks at me. Is it? It is that time. Okay. Um, let's see. Daniel C. What gifts to bring King Paimon? In all honesty, anytime I've worked with Paimon, I've honestly just brought him. I have brought him rum before. I've brought him whiskey before. I've brought him water. I've brought him coffee. I even brought him Gatorade. I've never had any issues with anything I've brought to King Paimon. The one thing I will say when it comes to any entity, and Paimon's definitely one that really can get bitchy. Some of them, like a few of them, I've seen like it's like don't keep this up, but they overlook it. Never bring something you don't like. Don't give them the thing you don't want. So, like when I'm bringing whiskey, I will bring a whiskey I actually have in the house that I actually drink that I actually like. So I'm sharing it with a guest in that situation. I will not bring them Jack Daniels. Not knocking Jack Daniels. I know there's a lot of people who like Jack Daniels. I don't. It tastes like glue to me, right? So I will never bring Jack Daniels because if there's Jack Daniels in the house, I will never drink it. And if I'm not willing to drink it or eat it, I will not present it as a gift. That is actually offensive to most spirits, and King Paimon really does not like that because he views it. He don't want to be viewed as a garbage disposal. With that one thing, just bring him whatever you got in the house that you like. If it's water, bring him water. If it's Kool-Aid, bring him Kool-Aid. Whatever it is. I know one magician, like they're hooked on Diet Coke and they will share their Diet Coke with him. It's not that difficult. A lot of people try to put very specific emphasis on you must bring this entity must have this. Those I've never found any of those to actually be a hard, solid true. And that goes for the entire Goetia. So as long as you bring something, and oftentimes you don't have to bring anything. Sometimes your time, attention, and friendship is enough. There's been plenty of times where I've worked with Paimon and I've reached out to him and I've made a point to ask him, is there anything you want to ask me? Anything you want to know? And just that camaraderie that has built up with us is now enough. But just because it's enough doesn't mean I rely on that either, because maybe it's the Southern in here, and I don't know, but I'm not just going to waste your time. I'm not going to invite you to my house and not offer you a drink. So, um, let's see. Let's see. Immortal, check out our Teachables website, Jackie, for Dragon Magic. That's a good point, too. Check out Dragon Magic 101 if you can over at the online school. Definitely had better whiskey than Jack Daniels for cheaper. Right? Like, Jack Daniels is not exactly a cheap whiskey, and I've actually found better whiskeys for a better price label, too. I will admit, like, when my goddaughter passed away recently, I purchased some rye whiskey because she was a rye girl. And I got to admit, I'm going to have to explore rye whiskeys more, because it's not really a category whiskey I've explored a lot. I knew I kind of liked it. I've had 2 or 3 of them that a friend has let me try. But um, believe it or not, it was actually a Jack Daniels rye, which I think is one of their newer. It's like the first new whiskey they've added to the line in a very, very long time. But I actually liked that. I liked their rye. They made a good rye, and it was more affordable than traditional Jack too, which I found interesting. But maybe it was on sale where I went. I don't know. So I'm wanting to try more ryes, but um, yeah, I'm just Jack's just not my favorite. It's not. It's just really not. And I don't knock it. I truly believe the best whiskey is the one you enjoy. Period. End of story. Have a nice day. At the same time, if I go to a friend's house and ask me if I want a drink, if I want whiskey, if I forget to ask what kind it is, or they forget to tell me and they pour me a Jack Daniels, I'm not going to give them shit. I'll sit there and sip it happily because it was given with grace and love, and I'm cool with that. Um, yeah, that's just how it is. Okay, let's see. Rainbow, good point, because I love Jack. Personal preference goes both ways. It does. It goes both ways, right? So the fact that you like Jack Daniels, like that's something you would drink, that is a perfect thing to get, right? So usually every holiday, and now that we're in the holidays, I usually get at least 1 bottle of decent rum, 1 bottle of decent scotch, and usually a bottle of a decent bourbon. Um, because bourbon's just holiday for me. I don't know. But I always make a point to share each of those with the entities I'm working with during the season. I really do. So if it's something you like, if it's something you enjoy, do it. Now, at the same time, last year, perfect example. Last year, I picked up a bottle of scotch, Aardvark scotch. I had never tried this particular scotch. It's an extremely smoky Isla type scotch. I'd heard great things about it, but I never tried it, right? And I was doing a working with Odin and Hell at the time. So I had decided when I was going to try this, I was going to try it with them. So I pour them a shot, I pour me some of it, and I go into my rituals to work with them. And at this point in time, I don't know if I like it. But I'm still sharing it because it's not necessarily the whiskey I'm sharing, but that first time experience that I'm getting to share with these entities, the same way you would share that experience with a good friend, right? So also remember, something like that is a great offering in of itself, because that's an offering you can't do twice. It's really kind of cool. Also consider that. Let's see, Eden, second person from Kentucky that I know that hates Jack Daniels, right? It's hard to find a person in Kentucky that don't like Jack Daniels. It really is. Growing up, I saw that bottle everywhere. I could probably identify Jack Daniels by smell by the time I was 7. See what we got here. Thomas Ledger, shadow people like the bad kind. Okay, Thomas, you must be coming in a little late. Actually, shadow people is a broad term that they put on any black or anything, and we don't know what the term shadow people, unfortunately, has become a very negative term. But by and large, most of the time, it is misused. In truth, there is no one thing that specifically denotes a shadow person. A thought form could actually create that same black mass. A human spirit can create that mass. We mentioned earlier in here that even working with a dragon, my dragons have occasionally created a black mass on an investigation. So just because we say shadow person or shadow people doesn't mean it's negative. Or extra dimensional, which that's a whole different kind of a shit can that we didn't even get into. But yeah, a lot of people use it to mean the bad kind, but you can't mean bad kind, because to say shadow people bad kind is to say human being bad kind. There's humans all across the spectrum. So I would encourage you, if you haven't, to go back and watch the entirety of the stream, because we are getting ready to go. We kind of fell into a whiskey discussion. Bourbon is good. See, Mathis Rye is pretty good though. I've had any on hand in a while. Yeah, like I said, I've tried a few of them, but weirdly, I saw that Jack Daniels. I grabbed it because I knew I wanted to have a rye whiskey when I was doing my rituals to remember her as she passed. And I got to say, I was like, I don't like Jack Daniels, but this is damn good, right? I found a Jack Daniels I like. So that's got me wanting to explore more ryes. And if I go to the store this weekend, holidays, I may look for my holiday scotch or rum, or I may see if there's another rye. Someone told me, crap, I wrote it down. I want to say it's Woodford Reserve Rye is good, and Bullet Rye. They told me to try those two. Don't know. I might try them, let you know. Who knows? I might just jump on stream with a bottle of rye and be like, I ain't had this. Let's see how it is and sit down and talk with y'all. Maybe that'll be on locals. We don't know. We'll see. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to get going, get out of here. Let's make sure I got everything. Let's see. That's pretty good. We currently don't have any money to spare. Yeah, that's understandable. Take care of your matters at home before you worry about the course. The course will be there, okay? Even if the website crashed and went down and I had no control over it, I still have all the video files, so I can still get them over to locals or something. So the course will exist. So don't worry about it. Take care of matters at home first and foremost. See, fully understand. Got that. Yep. Oh, Jackie. Our conversation yesterday where I asked if I could do that spell working for you. I did do that spell working last night, just so you know it is done. I was going to message you. I forgot. And since I'm thinking about it right now, I just figured, here you are. I'm going to tell you. So I got that done for you. Oh yeah, we talked about a lot of things. We start with a topic and then we just go wherever the ranting and conversation goes around here. That's working Dragon Mystic for you. We go everywhere. We ain't happy without a good logical conversation adventure. Let's see. Lee Woodford is good. I love it on rocks or old. Now I love me a good old fashioned. So if they got Woodford, Leo, I might grab that one since you're giving it a recommendation there. I might do that. All right. So if I get the Woodford, I'm coming back, Leo. I'll be like, hey, Leo, I tried it, and here's my 2 cents, because I love me a good old fashioned. I really do. I usually drink neat, not on the rocks though, but I'll try it on the rocks. Like when I get a new whiskey, I try it neat, rocks, and well, depending on how expensive it is, I may or may not make a cocktail. I can be a bit of a whiskey snob that way, but we'll see. But since you recommended the old fashioned for Woodford, I will try the old fashioned just for you, Leo. All right, everybody, you all have a fantastic weekend before somebody draws me into another whiskey or rum conversation, because I'm a nerd. I study that shit. I don't just drink it. I study it. I'm don't get me wrong. I drink bottom shelf, like $50 and down. That's usually my go-tos. And actually, I prefer 20. I'm like, damn, down here. Stay down there. I'm a cheapskate, people. I am who I am. I ain't going to change it. Love me for my cheapskatiness. That's what I do. That's not to say, that's why I say at the holidays I buy a special one, because that's when I go up to like maybe the 8. I think I paid 70, 80 for that art box last year, something like that. It was good though. It was really good. Any pipe smokers know like a deep, heavy light of Kia? That's what it reminded me of. All right, everybody have a great weekend. I will see you later, probably Monday for the next Magical Coffee Hour. All right, take care. Good night.